Hello, my name's Kada and this is the Student Loneliness Podcast. Over the last year, one of our priority projects at the Union of Students has been student loneliness. Throughout that time, we've conducted surveys, we've spoken to loads of students, we've done different events to all to gather student voice about how people are feeling lonely at uni, why people might be feeling lonely at uni, what ways do they want to engage to try and feel less lonely, and what can we do as a union to help. So today in this podcast, me and a couple of other individuals who will introduce themselves shortly are going to talk about when we first arrived at Derby, what our experience of loneliness was, the things that we got engaged with to fill that gap and to feel less lonely, and what kind of things we might have done differently if we were to restart our journey at Derby. So as I said before, my name's Kada. I am the Vice President Welfare at the Union of Students, where before I became the Vice President Welfare, I was one of the committee members for the Warhammer Society. Really enjoyed that. It was one of the best parts of being a student at uni. I really got to connect with everyone. It was a great time. And a fun fact about myself is that before coming to university, even though I grew up in Nottingham, which is the home of Warhammer, I had never played Warhammer, I'd never tried it, and it was actually at Derby that I got to play and try Warhammer for the first time. So now I will pass over to our first other individual.
Thank you, Kada. Hi everyone, I'm Peter. I'm a second year student here at the University of Derby. I am studying occupational therapy. And a fun fact about me is, what will be 3 years in December this year, I had a video message from the two and only Tom Holland and Zendaya. It's not something that people get to say every day, but that's my biggest claim to fame.
Awesome. And then we also have...
Hello everyone, I'm Sam. I'm the Vice President Education at the Union of Students. Walk alongside Kada and other officers. And fun fact, I'm not sure I've got one, but if this is a fun fact, I wouldn't know. Maybe you judge that. I have 3 degrees now, and I've moved from studying English and International Studies to IT. So I don't know if that's a fun fact, but yeah.
I think it's pretty interesting. I forgot to say earlier that my degree that I studied as a student at Derby was Special Educational Needs and Disability. However, I didn't start my student journey on that degree. I actually started on the Primary Education with QTS programme, and I transferred partway through my degree. And Sam, what did you study?
I studied IT, and it's been very fun. Yeah.
Awesome.
But maybe one more thing to add. I love dogs a lot, and if I'm not working, I'm probably doing music. I play the keyboard, I strum the guitar, and I try singing too. Yeah.
Awesome. Right. Were either of you worried about feeling lonely when you first started at the University of Derby, or is that kind of not something you were thinking about in the build-up or maybe is it something that kind of crossed your mind when you first moved in?
Well, I knew for me, because prior to starting first year, I wasn't aware of anyone else that I knew was coming to Derby. I did actually bump into someone a little bit later into first year who had gone to my secondary from my hometown. But, I was like, so I'm going on my own. It's going to be a fresh start. And actually, I did find that really helpful, because 2024 hadn't exactly been the best year for me in a couple of different circumstances, so a fresh start was what I needed. And yeah, it was a little bit sort of like, I'm going to be a bit lonely to begin with, just because it's like, obviously it's a new place, I'm not going to know anyone, but also thinking about the fact it would be a good opportunity to network and build foundations with new people.
Yeah.
For me, I think the excitement of the first few weeks beclouds your sense of loneliness, at least for the first few weeks, and because you're excited, and I think it could also be different for an international students like me, because it's the excitement of not just the university, the city, the country, the excitement of meeting new people, making new connections. So for the first few weeks, I would say first, second, and maybe third week, it was more of those excitement of seeing new things, trying new dishes. So I was so excited for the first few weeks that I didn't know I was going to, or didn't think about loneliness until it started coming.
I mean, when I first arrived, when I started on my primary education programme, it was actually that my programme started a week earlier than all the other ones. So I got told you've got to move into halls a week early if you're going to move into halls. Your induction week is the week before everyone arrives. Your first week of classes is the same week as Freshers Week, so you can only go to the Freshers Fair for an hour on your lunch. And for that first week, I did feel quite lonely and worried about fitting in, because when I first met all the people who had moved in early at the same halls as me, they weren't people that I gelled with particularly, and I remember trying too hard to fit in. I remember going to my first night at a club and just being like, not quite sure what I was doing. So that first week was a bit difficult for me, but then at the end of my induction week, I managed to talk to someone, and it was literally just that I complimented a badge they were wearing. But after that, it just hit off. We realised we were on the same programme. We both got really excited because our lecturers were bringing their dogs to the park, because we were doing a bunch of activities in the park, and we spent the rest of that day kind of bonding. And then we realised, oh, we live in the same halls. Oh, we've got some of the same interests. Oh, and we just kept hanging out from there, and they're still one of my closest friends now, and that was a really great experience for me. I will say another one of the ways that I made one of my first friends at Derby was by going to the Freshers Fair. In that 1 hour lunch break, I had to go to the Freshers Fair. I went down, I had a bit of look at most of our communities, and then I found Dots, which Peter mentioned earlier. One of the current committee members for Dots at that moment in time had brought their dogs, to the Freshers Fair. And that was it. I was sold. I sat on the floor, and for the next half an hour, I just pet those dogs. And I chatted to that person and made a friendship that lasted the whole of my degree and their degree. And we still occasionally see each other now, and we have a good, great catch up. And it was all. Most of my friendships have had dogs involved, it seems.
I think the international team for the university very instrumental to the first few weeks for me. And I remember some of the events that they put together, and Motivate Centre too. There was one where we had fish and chips, so it was a good one to not just meet other international students, but also integrate myself into the new culture. Again, try new recipe and new dishes, and again new ways of life. So like I think the international team of the university was very very instrumental to my first few weeks, and the events they organized then were actually the ones I wanted, and there were loads of food definitely and some fun stuff to do here.
So Peter, I wanted to ask, how did you get involved with Dots in first year?
So as I foreshadowed a little bit earlier, first off, I wasn't able to get to Freshers Fair because when they were doing my induction sessions was on the Freshers Fair days, so I didn't get down to the sports centre, which is where they had these sports clubs and societies. I only got to see the main bit in the Ked Road atrium. But I do remember that actually the then President Annie and Secretary Laura came and did a little presentation to us just to say, this is Dots, this is what we do. I was always going to join as a member regardless. But when they then said they were looking for some extra people, I was like, sounds intriguing, let's go asked, and then the rest is sort of history from there. So then I went to the dog walk as well, because it's like, let's just give new things a go, because obviously we've got the slogan of give it a go, which I do think is a really important thing that we have, because like you don't know if you don't ever try.
Would you like to just explain for anyone who's listening who might not know, what is a give it a go?
So a give it a go session is a free session or sessions where if you're looking at trying something new, basic with any society or sports club, you can go to a different session. For example, our dog walks we do with the Occupational Therapy Society is a free event that we do monthly, either in Mark Eaton Park just across the road from Mark Kedleston Road campus, or at Allestree Park a little bit away from here. Basically the give it a go, it's just you just turn up, you go see what it's like. If it's something you're interested in, then you can come back again. And like sort of the more things you go to, I would say the better.
Yeah.
I don't know if that sums it up perfectly on.
Yeah, it's that really low pressure way to go and get involved with one of our like communities, or some people call them sports clubs and societies, because quite a few of them will have paid memberships, but those Give It a Go's are an opportunity to go and see what they're all about for free. And I think I should have gone to far more of them in my first year, because I didn't really go to any of them in my first year. I kind of picked them up more a little bit later through other people. But I certainly wish I went to some of the Give It a Go's earlier in the year.
Because I was mainly involved with dots in first year. I did go to table tennis quite a lot during first year, just as because I just fancied something different. The table tennis club, as I mentioned earlier, I'm secretary for now, had been going through quite a rough time. We didn't really have any committee last year. The club did actually very nearly get disbanded after the first year finished for me, but it had its bucks renewal already done, so it had to carry on for another year. So then one of my friends who is a current first year, she's taken that on recently, and then I decided to join on because more heads are better than one head when running a society.
Yeah. So my next question is, PC, you're studying occupational therapy, and as I mentioned earlier, I studied primary education for my first couple of years at Derby. How did you find placement? Did you feel lonely on placement? And what are some of the ways that you managed to still get that kind of interaction and fight that loneliness that you might have had while on placement?
So on my first placement, I was in stroke rehabilitation. I was the only occupational therapy student on that particular setting, but I wasn't the only occupational therapy student from my cohort at the hospital I was based at. This is then where the thing of branching out happened a little bit more, because one of the people I didn't really know was working on one of the departments where patients from the ward I was on got sent to for their post-discharge care. So I sort of just started speaking to her a little bit, and then our friendship just blossomed from that. But it's also just sort of thinking a bit about my cohort. We have a group chat, and it's really helpful, because my cohort are a bit like a family, really, which is something that I think is really nice about my cohort and my course. So it's just sort of hey, this happened today. Don't know if anyone else has ever experienced anything like this. If they got any advice, it's really helpful. You might not be able to see every single person in person, but you still got that sort of virtual contact.
Okay.
Nice. And then on my second placement, I actually became really good friends with a first year nursing mental health student. Well, mental health nursing student, if I say it properly, and stuff. She joined on a couple of weeks before I was due to finish, because I was in a mental health setting this time round, and that actually was something I felt was really handy. Was there are obviously some links between mental health and loneliness and stuff, and it didn't affect my mental health in that way, but it was just a really sort of handy thing to go, so this person's had this person's had that, and it's these are the sort of things I can think about, especially with my experiences already. And it's just, again, it's thinking about that networking. So for me, it was just basically talking to different people, talking to different people on different programs, talking to different people in the cohort. And it's just thinking about, it's networking, it's thinking about, don't always keep going to the same people, because sometimes different perspectives can really help. That was something I found quite a lot.
No, that's really interesting. I mean, when I was on my placement, my first placement on primary education, I remember going into the school and finding the other few students there, and I did try to talk to them, but we just didn't quite click, and so I started to feel quite lonely and isolated, because I was struggling to get along with the staff at the school. We had good working relationships, but there was no one who I really could share those interests with or bond with outside of a work capacity, really. But the thing that I found really, really helpful was looking at which student community groups and societies had those kind of opportunities to engage outside of main university hours or working hours. So on a Saturday, I found the board and card gaming society had some sessions. So it was that way for me. Even though I might spend the whole week at the school and feel a little bit lonely, I could come and I could get in touch with other people from the university, other students, and I could talk about how I'm doing and they could talk about how they were doing. So it was a really nice way to kind of relax and chill. I'm not sure, did you have any kind of placement elements, Sam?
I didn't have any placement element, but over the summer I was big on an internship. I applied for an internship opportunity, which was not essentially a compulsory element of my program, but I applied and I got it, and I was there for a month. And I think one of the things that helped me is similar to what Peter said. I was very intentional about networking, and again, and that's one of the ways I dealt with loneliness as a person. I think two things for me. I was big on looking for exploring the opportunities, because I realized there were loads of opportunities, and I still think as students there's so many opportunities in the universities that are so explored. They're not explored at all. So I looked for those opportunities and I tried to explore them, and the internship was one of many. And once I got on the internship, one of the things I also did was to be intentional about meeting people, and I discovered that people I would say 9 out of 10 people are very kind. You just need to break the ice and the first barrier, just say hi, and you discover how sweet the other person is on the other side.
So no, but thank you two for talking to me today. I really appreciate it.
Thank you, Katie, for hosting us.
It's been really good.
It's been great, yeah.